Her name was Emily. She was 29. From the outside, she looked like every man's dream. Warm smile, vintage charm, impossibly soft voice. But there was something beneath the surface, something she never spoke aloud, not even to herself. Her boyfriend, Noah, was 33. Quiet, brilliant, naive in the way that only truly kind people are. He ran a small tech startup that had just begun to bloom. Money started flowing in. Investors, clients, growth. And Emily saw it all happening. She would sit across from him at dinner, listening to him ramble about cloud systems and scalability. And while she nodded, her mind was somewhere else. More precisely, on the other man. His name was Marcus. 35, sharp jawline, cold eyes, confidence like a weapon. He was the complete opposite of Noah. Dangerous, distant, addictive. Emily met Marcus by accident at a gallery opening she went to alone. Or maybe it wasn't an accident. Some part of her had already been looking. What started as a few glances turned into late-night messages. Then hotel rooms. At first, she told herself it was just lust, an escape. But Marcus was different. He saw the hunger in her. Not sexual, power. He asked her things Noah never would. Challenge her in ways that made her feel alive. He planted an idea. Why stay with him? Marcus said one night, tracing circles on her bare thigh, "You're doing all this for free." She laughed, uncomfortably. He continued, "You could walk away with enough to never look back. You told me he'd trust you with his passwords." Emily didn't answer, but the idea stayed. Over the next few weeks, the plan formed. Quietly, slowly, she would continue the affair, wait for the right moment, use his trust, the shared laptop, the access, the saved codes, and transfer a large portion to an offshore account Marcus helped her set up. Clean, untraceable, final. She told herself it wasn't cruel. It was necessary. Noah was too soft. He'd never survive in the real world. He wouldn't even know what hit him. And she deserved more. The real world, real risk, real power. But then, something happened. A Tuesday. Nothing special. Noah was cooking dinner. Overcooked pasta, under-seasoned sauce, jazz playing quietly in the background. He turned to her and smiled with red sauce on his cheek. "I know I'm a mess," he said, "but you make everything feel safe." That word, safe, it hit her harder than she expected. She excused herself to the bathroom and stared at herself in the mirror. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't like what she saw. Not the makeup, not the lipstick Marcus loved, not the eyes that once believed in love. She was about to ruin the one person who never lied to her. And something inside her cracked. But cracks don't mean it's over. They just mean something's about to break. The next morning, Emily woke up before Noah. His arm was still loosely wrapped around her waist, breathing slow, vulnerable. She lay there in silence, eyes open, heart pounding in a rhythm that didn't match the calmness of the room. The laptop was on the desk, screen dark, quietly humming in sleep mode. She'd memorized the password weeks ago. He never thought to change it. He never even locked it. That morning, she told herself, "Just look, one last time, then walk away." She slid from under his arm like a ghost. Barefoot, silent, her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She typed, "MNO92. It was their old couple nickname. He said he used it because he always wanted her close, even digitally. That made it worse. The screen lit up. The documents were there. The finance folders, investor reports, a file titled, Last Will Draft. She hesitated, opened it, and read. "In the event of my death, I want the majority of my holdings to go to Emily Rose Taylor. Without her, this company would not exist. She gave me peace while I built chaos." She dropped the mouse. Something in her chest twisted so violently it made her nauseous. Noah had written her into his will. She didn't even know he'd thought about dying. And now here she was, about to digitally assassinate him while he lay asleep in their bed with her dog curled by his feet. Later that day, Marcus texted, "Ready?" She didn't answer. "Tonight, if you're serious. I already prepped the transfer." He attached a screenshot of the fake offshore account. Her name in the corner. Everything clean. Everything ready. Emily sat on the edge of the bed with the phone in her hand, and it was like the world went still. Then, Noah stirred in the kitchen, dropped a spoon, laughed to himself. She got up, walked in, and kissed him hard, like she was drowning and he was air. He pulled back, confused. "Hey, what was that for?" She said nothing. just held on to him. And in her mind, Marcus's message kept flashing like a siren. Tonight, if you're serious. But was she? Or was she about to break both of them to find out? That evening, she met Marcus in the dim back corner of a hotel bar they'd used a dozen times before. Same booth, same bitter gin, but everything felt different now. He was already 2 drinks in, relaxed, smug, dressed like he didn't care what the world thought. You look hesitant, he said, not even pretending to hide his smirk. Change of heart. Emily sat across from him, her spine rigid, her hands clasped too tightly in her lap. I read the will, she whispered. Marcus raised an eyebrow. And he left me everything. There was a pause, then a grin. Well then, he said, leaning forward, you'd be an idiot not to do this. You get the money twice. She flinched. Jesus, Marcus. He didn't blink. What? It's just the truth. He's a soft man in a sharp world. He'll never survive it. But you, he tapped her chest. You will. And you know it. Emily looked away. Out the rain-streaked window. Across the city she was supposed to conquer. I'm not sure I can do it. He laughed. Cruelly. You already have. Don't kid yourself. This isn't about if. It's about when. When she came home that night, Noah was in bed, laptop open, headphones on, watching an old nature documentary he loved, something about whales migrating. He looked up and smiled. Did you get caught in the rain? She nodded. Yeah. Want a towel? She shook her head. Just stay there. She climbed into bed next to him, rested her head on his chest, and listened to the narrator talk about animals crossing oceans to find each other. Her phone buzzed under the pillow. Marcus. Midnight. Final offer. Or I'm out. She didn't answer, but her fingers were shaking. The storm outside rumbled louder, and Emily realized she was standing at the very edge of something. Betrayal, survival, reinvention, guilt. And whichever step she took, she wouldn't be able to go back. Not as the woman Noah loved. Not as the woman Marcus believed in. And maybe not even as herself. Just a silhouette in the dark, holding a secret that could shatter everything. And midnight was approaching. Fast. 11:43 p.m. She sat on the floor of the living room, the only light coming from the aquarium lamp Noah had bought 2 years ago on a whim. The blue water shimmered across the walls like something alive, peaceful, beautiful, and completely silent. Emily had the laptop open. Her hand hovered over the keyboard. Just like Marcus had said. Log in. Open the dummy shell account. Transfer from Noah's liquid business account to the one in her name. Close all history. Delete the Bridge app. Done. 10 minutes, start to finish. She'd practiced in her head so many times it felt like muscle memory. But she couldn't make her fingers move. Noah was asleep just down the hall. Trusting, as always. This man still let her see every bank email. Still gave her the admin passwords, just in case. Still left love notes on the fridge and folded her laundry, even when she forgot his birthday last year. She could take it all tonight, and he'd wake up to a world with no money, no warning, no Emily. 11:52 p.m. A buzz. Marcus again. Clock's ticking. Followed by, I'm not waiting. Either we do this, or you crawl back to that boring little life and live off guilt for the rest of your perfect marriage. Emily stood up suddenly, like someone had yanked her spine upright. She walked to the bedroom. Noah's hand was resting over his chest, rising and falling like the ocean on slow repeat. She stared at him, and for the first time, she said it. Not out loud, but in her head. I don't deserve you. Then something unexpected happened. He stirred. His eyes opened. Groggy, unfocused. He whispered. She froze. He reached out a hand toward her, still half asleep. I had a dream, he mumbled. You were gone. I was looking everywhere. I couldn't breathe. She felt her throat clench. Emily crawled under the covers next to him and pressed her body into his like a child. She didn't say a word, but she held him like a lifeline. Noah kissed the top of her head. You okay? He whispered. No. Yes. The laptop was still open in the other room. The plan was still there. Marcus was still waiting. But something inside her had shifted. Not broken. Not healed. Just moved. Cracked in a new direction. And now she had a choice. Click send. Or walk into the fire of her own remorse and face the wreckage she'd already caused, without making it worse. 12:06 a.m. Marcus had stopped texting, but the silence was louder than anything Emily had ever heard. Her phone sat on the nightstand, screen dark, accusing, like it knew exactly what she was. Noah was asleep again, one arm loosely flung across her waist, breathing deep, soft. He always slept like a child, completely open, completely unaware of how dangerous the world could be, or how dangerous she was. Emily lay there with eyes wide open, staring into the ceiling. She hadn't clicked send, but she'd wanted to, and that want, it wasn't gone. It just curled up deeper inside her chest, like a parasite hiding from the light. Marcus would be furious. He wasn't the type to forgive silence. He thrived on control, hers, most of all. There'd be consequences. Maybe not tonight, but soon. She knew too much, and he had too many secrets tied to her name. In the morning, she pretended to be tired. Noah made coffee, burnt the toast, kissed her forehead anyway. She almost cried right there in the kitchen. He handed her a mug. "I'm thinking of selling the company," he said casually. Her head snapped up. "What?" He shrugged. "I don't know. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've got more money than I'll ever need. I miss the old me, the version that didn't stare at spreadsheets all day." She stared at him like she didn't recognize him. "And then what?" she asked, trying to sound neutral. "Maybe travel. Italy. Spain. You and me. Just vanish for a while." A beat passed, then another. Her stomach dropped, because she wasn't sure she could go anywhere without taking the shame with her. At 1:14 p.m., a text came in, from an unknown number. "You had your chance. Now I clean this up my way." No signature, but she knew it was Marcus. The implication hit like a slap. He wasn't bluffing. If she wouldn't take the money, he would. And he wouldn't be careful. He never was. Which meant Noah might find out. Everything. Emily walked into the bathroom, locked the door, turned on the sink to drown out her shaking breath. The betrayal wasn't finished. It was just beginning. And this time, she couldn't control what came next. Emily sat on the edge of the bathtub, knuckles white against the porcelain, her heart thudding louder than the faucet running beside her. Marcus had always been dangerous, but never reckless. Until now. He wasn't going to let her walk away with nothing. Not after how deep they'd gone. Not after all the late-night rendezvous, whispered plans, burner emails, and secret hotel rooms with cash-stuffed envelopes between kisses. She thought she was manipulating him. But maybe, just maybe, he'd been pulling her deeper into his world from the start. Now, he was cutting her out. Or worse, dragging her down with him. That evening, she checked Noah's bank activity. Her hand trembled. The shell account Marcus had made in her name. It had received $680,000 from Noah's private fund. Timestamp, 12:13 a.m., 13 minutes after she'd frozen in front of her laptop. Marcus had done it himself, and he'd done it in her name. Panic took hold. If Noah found out now, it wouldn't matter what she'd almost done. He'd see only what had happened. To him, it would be theft, betrayal, destruction, from a woman he had planned to build a new life with. Emily grabbed her phone. "Me, you transfer the money." "I didn't agree. You're setting me up." The reply came fast. "Marcus, no, you set yourself up when you hesitated. I had to act. But don't worry. You'll thank me when this all settles." She threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall, cracked, slid down. An hour later, Noah came home from a run, sweaty, smiling, unaware. "Hey babe," he called. "You left your email open on the office laptop. I saw something weird. Did you open a business account with a Cayman's firm?" She couldn't breathe. Her entire body went cold. She walked into the hallway slowly, as if every step might detonate her life. "What did you see?" He shrugged. "Some document in your inbox about verification. I didn't open it. Just looked odd." She forced a laugh. "Oh, yeah, I think it's spam. I'll check later." He nodded, then kissed her. A kiss she didn't deserve. A kiss that tasted like the last breath before drowning. The walls were closing in. The lies were catching up. And Marcus had already pulled the trigger. There was only one way out now. She had to make a move before Noah did. Before Marcus made her his fall girl. Before this entire web collapsed and buried them all. That night, Emily didn't sleep. Noah's breathing beside her rose and fell in peaceful rhythm. Like the man had no idea the woman sharing his bed had just watched their life go up in smoke. Lit by her own hand and finished off by someone she thought she controlled. She kept thinking about the account. $680,000. All traceable to her. Not Marcus. Her. It wasn't a setup. It was a damn execution. And she'd given him the bullet months ago, back when she started believing she could dance in the fire without getting burned. At 2:47 a.m., she crept out of bed and opened her laptop in the hallway. She needed to know how deep this went. She logged into the shadow account. The money was still there, untouched. No withdrawals, but new activity. An email drafted to a Swiss private bank, ready to send, just waiting for confirmation. The recipient, Marcus. The sender, Emily's email. He was going to move it overseas. And when Noah found out, she'd be the criminal. She stared at the draft, frozen, her pulse a war drum in her ears. Then she hit delete. Every trace of it, gone. She wiped the session log. She changed passwords. She locked down every digital backdoor Marcus had ever slipped through. And when she was done, she opened a new draft. This time, not to a bank, but to a lawyer. I need to report a financial crime. It involves an account in my name, open without my consent. I believe I'm being set up by a third party. Her finger hovered over send. She hesitated, because this wasn't just about self-preservation anymore. This was about choosing sides. Saving herself would mean exposing everything. Noah, the affair, the theft, the lies. And if she didn't, she would go down as a thief, a fraud, and a traitor to the only man who had ever truly loved her. At 3:19 a.m., Noah stirred behind her. He said, voice thick with sleep. Why are you up? She turned, and in the pale blue light from the hallway, he saw something in her eyes. Something raw, something cracked. Can we talk? She said. And he sat up, just like that, ready to listen. Not knowing the world he was about to walk into. Not knowing that every word that came next could split his life in two. But ready anyway, because that's who he was. And Emily was about to finally become who she really was. No matter what it cost. She didn't sit beside him. She stood, trembling, arms folded over her chest like armor, as if proximity might break the fragile resolve barely holding her together. Noah rubbed his eyes, waking up fast now. Something in her voice, it was different. Not fear, not sadness. Something more final. What's going on? He asked gently. Emily took a shaky breath. I need to tell you something. And I don't know how to start, but if I don't say it now, I won't say it at all. He leaned forward, concern sharpening behind his eyes. Emily, what is it? And that's when she said it. I was going to steal from you. The words hung there. Heavy, brutal, undeniable. Noah blinked. Once, twice, as if trying to process the sentence through some glitch in reality. She kept talking, fast, frantic, as if speeding through might soften the impact. I didn't go through with it. I couldn't, but someone else did. A man just say it. No more filters. I had an affair with. Months ago, he set up a shell account. In my name. I gave him access when I thought I hated you. When I thought you were boring, predictable, safe. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. Turns out that's just what loyalty looks like. Noah said nothing. He was too still, too quiet. She knelt now, unable to stand under the weight. I didn't send the money, but I let him try. That's almost worse. I opened the door and shut my eyes. His jaw was clenched, fingers twitching. Who is he? He asked finally. She hesitated. Marcus. And there it was. The name shattered whatever calm had survived inside him. Marcus. His voice cracked with disbelief. My friend Marcus. Since we were kids. She nodded, tears finally coming. I didn't plan to fall into it. It was attention, excitement. I thought I was bored. I thought maybe I wanted out of this. Of you. And then I realized I was just scared of how safe I felt. How much I trusted you. And how much I didn't think I deserved any of it. Noah stood, slowly, like something inside him had to physically detach to rise. He looked at her, not with hatred. Worse, with something close to grief. I would have given you anything, he said, voice breaking. You didn't have to steal it. Emily choked on a sob. I know. That's the part I'll never forgive myself for. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was the sound of a heart breaking, cleanly, quietly, without drama. And still, she had more to tell. Because the damage wasn't over. And Marcus wasn't finished. Noah didn't scream. He didn't throw things. He didn't ask why. He just left the room. Emily heard the door to his office close softly behind him, like a sigh. Not a slam. Not fury, detachment. That was worse. Because it meant she'd broken something so deep inside him. He didn't even have the strength to explode. Just collapse inward. She didn't follow him. What would she say now that wouldn't sound like damage control? The next morning, he was gone. Not gone like left for work. Gone like his closet was half empty. Gone like his toothbrush was missing. Gone like the wine glass in the sink hadn't been used by either of them in weeks. He hadn't slammed the front door. He hadn't left a note. Just gone. Emily sat at the kitchen table, laptop open. The Shell account was still frozen. The money hadn't moved. But Marcus had. His name was in the system again. She traced an IP ping, masked through VPN, but there was a flaw in the cover. He'd logged in once from a location she recognized. Chandler Heights Apartments, Unit 302. That was his place. Marcus hadn't even bothered to be careful anymore. He assumed she was cornered, that Noah was gone, that she had no one left. And maybe she didn't. But she wasn't going to be used anymore. At noon, she drove there. Every mile was war. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. Her palms slick on the steering wheel. She parked across the street, watched for movement. Nothing. Then climbed the stairs to Unit 302. Knocked once. Twice. Marcus opened the door with a smirk that made her stomach twist. Well, he said. You came. She walked in without asking. He closed the door behind her like a wolf, sealing the cave. What the hell are you doing? She snapped. You transferred that money behind my back. You used my name. Marcus poured himself a drink. You hesitated. I took initiative. You set me up to take the fall. He looked at her, dead serious now. You were never going to ride off into the sunset with him, Emily. That was a fantasy. He doesn't understand who you are like I do. She clenched her fists. You think I'm going to let you destroy my life? No, he said calmly. I already did. Then he pulled out his phone and tapped a video. Emily's breath caught in her throat. It was them, in a hotel room, recorded, from the corner of the ceiling. Her, Marcus, together, time-stamped, watermarked, traceable. She stumbled back. You filmed us. He shrugged. Insurance. Now it was clear. This wasn't just betrayal. This was extortion. Marcus had planned this all along. From the first night they kissed. Emily had two options now. Give him what he wanted, or burn everything to the ground, and take him with her. Emily stood frozen, her own face flickering from Marcus's phone screen. Her breath came shallow, her vision narrowing like a tunnel. Her voice, when it finally emerged, was hoarse and flat. You filmed us without telling me. Marcus gave a soft, smug chuckle. Of course not. That would have ruined the magic. She wanted to lunge at him, scream, smash the phone and every smug inch of his smug face. But she didn't, because that's what he wanted: chaos, reaction, weakness. So instead, she smiled. Cold, sharp, deleted. He tilted his head, lips curling. Why would I do that, Emily? I've got a gold mine sitting in my Dropbox. You don't want Noah to see this, do you? Something shifted in her chest. Not fear, not anymore. Resolve. Because she'd already lost the man she loved. She had nothing left to lose. Send it to him, she said quietly. Marcus blinked. What? Send it to Noah. Do it. You think he doesn't know what I've done? He does. I told him. Marcus looked genuinely confused now. You told him. She stepped closer. I told him everything. The affair. The account. The plan. I told him I betrayed the only person who ever trusted me. Her voice cracked now. Not from fear, but from the truth finally punching through her ribs. And you know what? He didn't hit me. He didn't scream. He just left quiet, like something broke that he wasn't sure could be fixed. And that silence was the worst thing I've ever felt. She pointed to the phone. So go ahead. Show him the video. Show him what he already knows. But it's not leverage anymore, Marcus. You're done. He sneered. You think that's it? I still have the account. I still have the IPs. The logs. You're the only one tied to this on paper. Emily's hand was already in her coat pocket. Not for a weapon. For the USB drive she brought. With every traceable login. Every text Marcus had ever sent. Screenshots. Metadata. Emails. Audio files. Everything. She tossed it on his counter. You're not the only one who knows how to plan ahead. Marcus stared at it, jaw tight. You think you're clever. She walked to the door, paused. No, I just stopped being stupid. Then she left. And this time, she wasn't running. Back in her car, she exhaled for the first time in hours. There was no plan now. No script. Just air and silence and the ruin she'd made. But somehow, it felt like the beginning of something real. Not redemption. Just honesty. And maybe that was enough to start rebuilding, if Noah was still willing to pick up the pieces. That night, Emily didn't sleep. Not because of fear, that was gone. Not because of Marcus. He was finished. It was because of the man whose heart she shattered without touching a blade. Noah. She checked her phone more times than she could count. No texts. No calls. No read receipts on the last message she'd sent. I told him everything. It's over now. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm just asking you to know the truth. It sat there, unread, like a final prayer whispered into a void. At 3:14 a.m., she got out of bed and wandered the apartment. The same apartment where she once imagined a wedding dress hanging by the window, where they painted the walls that soft olive green, where Noah played records on Sunday mornings and danced with her barefoot in the kitchen, where trust lived and where she'd suffocated it. The next morning, there was a knock at the door. Her breath caught. She ran, not thinking, not hoping, just moving. And there he was, Noah, wearing the same coat he wore the night he left, hair unkempt, eyes sunken, but somehow still steady. Neither of them spoke right away. She stepped aside. He entered. They sat at the kitchen table, where everything once felt simple. Noah stared at the surface, fingers tapping the wood like he was counting seconds. I went to Marcus's place last night, he said. Her chest tightened. What happened? He was gone. Cleaned out. No trace. But he slid a thumb drive across the table. This was taped under his desk. Name on the file said Final Insurance. He wanted me to see it. Maybe he panicked. Maybe he thought he'd win one last time. Emily didn't move. She didn't need to ask what was on it. She already knew. Noah's voice dropped. I didn't watch it. She looked up, shocked. You didn't? I couldn't. I didn't need to. Silence settled between them, thick with meaning. Then, finally, she whispered, Why did you come back? He stared at her, and something in his eyes broke wide open. Because despite everything, I still wanted to see if there was anything left of the woman I fell in love with. Tears welled in her eyes, but she held them back. I don't deserve forgiveness. He nodded. Maybe not. But maybe forgiveness isn't something you earn. Maybe it's something you choose to give, when holding on to hate hurts more than letting go. They sat like that for a long while. Two people, broken and bleeding, but facing each other. No masks, no lies, just truth. And somewhere in that raw silence, a seed of hope was planted. Tiny, quiet, but alive. For the first time in weeks, Emily made coffee without shaking hands. Noah sat at the counter, eyes fixed on the steam rising from his cup like it was telling a story only he could hear. There was no music playing, no sound from the street, just the tick of the old wall clock and the quiet hum of a home that had barely survived a war. She placed a second mug in front of him. Not too close. I kept the apartment clean, she said. Didn't know why. I guess. I hoped it wouldn't feel like a stranger lived here. He didn't respond at first. Then, softly, It doesn't. Not yet. She sat. He sipped. And for a moment, they weren't cheater and betrayed. They weren't thief and victim. They were just two people, still breathing in the same room, still trying to figure out what hurt more, the lie or the loss. I want to tell you everything, she said suddenly. Noah looked up. I mean everything. Not just what happened, but why. I don't want to hide behind excuses. But if there's any chance of you understanding what I did. He nodded once, quietly. I'm listening. So she told him about the moments she'd felt invisible in the relationship. Not because of him, but because of herself. The days she spiraled into shame for not being as successful. The envy she buried behind compliments. The self-doubt that turned into silent resentment. And how Marcus, disgusting, manipulative Marcus, knew just where to press. I thought if I took your money, I'd feel powerful, in control, like I was finally the one who mattered. Noah's voice was calm, but heavy. Instead, you gave up the one person who would have shared all of it with you anyway. She nodded. And I hate myself for that. They sat in it. The ugliness of truth. The rawness. The vulnerability. Then Noah leaned forward, elbows on the table. I'm not here to decide today. I don't even know what I want tomorrow. She looked up hopeful. But you came back. I came back, he echoed. To see if you could face what you did. And you did. A long pause. Then he added, Trust isn't rebuilt with words, Emily. It's rebuilt with time. And proof. She nodded slowly. Then I'll give you both. No pressure. No expectations. I'll wait, if that's what it takes. Noah stood, placed his mug in the sink, and turned to leave. At the door, he stopped. Keep the place clean, he said. I might come back again. And just like that, he was gone. But not forever. Not this time. Days passed. Then a week. Noah didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't come by. But Emily didn't spiral this time. She didn't wait by the door or check the window every hour. Instead, she worked. On herself. She deactivated every social account. Cleared the apartment of anything connected to Marcus. Photos, texts, files. Deleted. Burned. Gone. She started therapy. She opened the notebook Noah once gave her, the one still empty after 2 years, and began writing. Not stories. Not poetry. Truth. Raw pages filled with confessions she couldn't say out loud. I used to lie even when I didn't need to, because I was addicted to the feeling of control. I blamed you for making more money, when I was really just ashamed of how little I believed in myself. I never cheated because you failed me. I cheated because I failed myself. The more she wrote, the lighter she felt, and the heavier the guilt became. Because somewhere in the quiet, she realized she didn't want Noah to come back just to forgive her. She wanted him to come back because she'd earned a second version of herself, the one who would never need to lie again. 3 weeks later, she opened her email to find a message with no subject line. From Noah. Just 5 words. Can we walk and talk? She met him at the lake where they'd once spent their 3rd anniversary. Same bench. Same path. But everything between them felt different now. Quieter, more fragile, but somehow realer than before. He walked beside her in silence. Then, I read the notebook, he said. Emily's breath caught. You left it at my place. On purpose. She shook her head. I forgot I even had it. He nodded slowly. It didn't read like someone asking for pity. It read like someone finally telling the truth. She stopped walking. Noah, I'm not here to beg. I'm not trying to erase what I did. I just want you to know, if I ever get a second chance, I'll never waste it. He looked at her then, long and quiet. I'm not saying I'm ready, he said. Emily nodded, trying not to let the hope in her chest burst through her ribs. But maybe we can start with one walk, he added, and see where that leads. She smiled through the tears. One walk, one truth, one step at a time. Maybe, just maybe, that's how you build a future. The walks became weekly, always the same path. Sometimes words, sometimes silence, but never pretending. Emily stopped asking questions like, do you forgive me? Or where do we stand? She stopped reaching for his hand. She let the space between them be what it was. Not punishment, not distance. Just healing. One walk turned into 2. 2 into 5. One afternoon, she brought coffee. Not the kind he used to drink, a new kind. Ethiopian roast with cinnamon and oat milk. He took it, sipped, then smiled. Small, subtle, but real. I like this one better. That smile carried her for days. She never asked where he was living. He never asked if she was seeing anyone else. There was a mutual understanding now, not of ownership, but of honesty. Whatever came next would be on clean ground. And if it didn't come, she'd survive. Not as punishment, but because growth had replaced the dependency. One Sunday, they sat at the bench longer than usual. The sun was lower, colder. Geese crossed the lake. Children laughed in the distance. I saw Marcus, Noah said suddenly. Emily froze. What? Last week. Grocery store. He saw me first. Smiled. Kept walking. She swallowed hard. Did he say anything? No. Pause. Should I be worried? Noah turned to her. Eyes steady. No. He looked empty, like someone who lost his power. You took it from him the second you walked away. She breathed. A long, slow breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding for weeks. That night, she walked home alone, but lighter. She passed the coffee shop where they had their first fight. The bookstore where he once hid love notes and fiction novels. All the memories that used to haunt her. Now, just lived. Quietly. She went home, sat at the kitchen table, opened the notebook again, and wrote 3 words. I'm still learning. Not I'm healed. Not I'm forgiven. Just learning. Because she knew now, love doesn't erase mistakes. It just asks you to carry them gently and never make them again. It was a Tuesday when Noah finally came inside again. No dramatic moment. No symbolic knock. Just a casual, simple, mind if I come in for a bit? Emily had already made tea. Out of habit, or maybe hope. He stepped inside like someone returning to a childhood home, familiar, but careful not to disturb what had changed. She watched him walk through the hallway, eyes lingering on the framed photo still hanging, the two of them on a beach in Portugal. A moment from the before. She tensed. "I've been meaning to take that down," she said. He looked at it a moment longer. "No, don't." She blinked. "Why?" "Because I want to remember what it looked like before everything cracked. Not to mourn it, just to remind myself what we once were, and maybe what we could be again, in a different way." They sat at the dining table. No alcohol, no defenses. He asked her what she was working on. She told him about the online courses, the volunteer work, the writing. He listened. He told her he'd started therapy too. Her eyes softened. "That's good. It's hard," he admitted. "I didn't realize how much I was burying, even before the betrayal." Emily nodded. "Sometimes it's easier to forgive someone else than to forgive yourself." That struck a nerve. She saw it in his jaw, but he didn't pull away. Instead, he said something she didn't expect. "You know what hurts more than the cheating?" She braced. "It's that I thought I knew you. All of you. And then, suddenly, I didn't." Her throat burned. "I didn't know me either," she whispered. "That's the truth." They sat in that silence again, the comfortable kind this time, like two people sitting beside a wound that had finally stopped bleeding. Noah looked at her, really looked. Not like a man in pain or a man in love. Just a man trying to see the person in front of him without the fog of memory. "I don't know what this is," he said. Emily answered quietly. "Neither do I, but it feels better than pretending we're strangers." She smiled. "Yeah, it really does." When he left that night, there was no kiss, no promises, just a lingering glance at the photo on the wall, and a quiet, "See you soon." And, for the first time in a long time, she believed it. It was raining, not a storm, not dramatic. Just that slow, steady drizzle that feels like the sky is whispering instead of yelling. Noah texted her that morning. "Feel like going somewhere different today." Emily paused before answering. "Always." He picked her up at noon. No umbrella, just his old hoodie and a familiar half-smile. They drove out of the city, past the suburbs, past anything that felt familiar, until the buildings turned to trees and the noise faded into birdsong. A hiking trail, one they used to talk about but never tried. No agenda, just fresh air and wet leaves underfoot. For 2 hours, they walked in comfortable conversation, broken by the occasional laugh or story from childhood. Things they hadn't told each other before. Not because they hadn't had time, but because, back then, they'd assumed there would always be time. Now, they cherished every second. At the top of a hill, they found a clearing, overlooking trees, mist rising off the earth. Quiet, endless green. Emily sat first, pulled her knees in, watched the way the fog wrapped around the world like a secret. Noah sat beside her. Minutes passed. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She glanced at it. "My turn," he said. "What is it?" He hesitated, then handed it over. It was a list. Handwritten. Raw. Messy. At the top, things I never said but should have. She scanned the first few lines. "Sometimes I felt not good enough for you, but I never admitted it. I was scared you'd leave me before you ever did anything wrong. I started pulling away before you lied. And I think deep down, you knew. I hate that I still miss you when I'm supposed to hate you." Emily's hands trembled. "I wrote it last night," he said. "Didn't know if I'd show you. But you showed me your truth. I guess I owe you mine." She looked at him, not just as the man she hurt, but the man who hurt too. A human being trying to heal, not just forgive. Her voice was soft. "I don't want to go back to what we were." Noah blinked. "You don't." She shook her head. "I want to become something new with you. If we ever become anything again, I want to be built on this. The hard truth, the quiet rebuilding, not nostalgia." He exhaled. "Yeah, me too." Then, finally, he reached for her hand. Not in a romantic rush, not in blind hope, but like someone choosing to stand in the rain. Because it's better than running from the storm. The drive back was quiet. Not awkward, but thoughtful. Like their hearts were still walking, even after their bodies had stopped moving. Emily stared out the window, tracing raindrops with her eyes. Every twist in the glass reminded her of the mess they'd made, and the miracle that somehow there was still something left to build from. Noah pulled up outside her place. He didn't turn the engine off, didn't reach for her hand again. just stared straight ahead and said, almost under his breath, "I still don't know if I can love you the same way again." Emily nodded. She didn't flinch. She didn't plead. "I wouldn't ask you to." He finally turned toward her. "Then why are you still here?" Her answer was simple. "Because love isn't a feeling right now. It's a choice. And I've made mine." He didn't kiss her goodbye that night, but he watched her until she made it to the door, until the light in the hallway flickered on, and her shadow disappeared behind it. That was enough. Over the next few weeks, their connection deepened, not by doing more, but by doing less. No games, no expectations. They cooked dinner once, with no romantic music or candles. Just a messy kitchen and shared laughter over burnt tofu. He helped her fix a leaking faucet. She helped him edit a presentation for work. Little things, real things. Not movie love, but actual healing. One morning, she found a note he left behind. "Some mornings I wake up and still feel betrayed. But others, I wake up and miss you before I open my eyes." I think healing means learning how to hold both feelings without choosing one over the other. She cried reading it, not because it hurt, but because it was the most honest thing she'd ever been given. Then, a month later, something happened. Noah called at midnight. His voice was calm, too calm. I ran into Marcus again. Emily sat upright. "Where?" "Parking garage in my office." Her stomach twisted. "What happened?" "He followed me. Tried to laugh it off. Said he figured you'd come crawling back to him eventually." Silence. I told him never to speak to either of us again. That if he did, I'd have no problem telling his wife everything. Emily blinked. "His wife?" "Yeah. He's been married this whole time." The phone slipped slightly in her grip. Noah continued quietly. "I'm not telling you this to hurt you. I'm telling you because you deserve to stop blaming yourself like you were the only villain." She didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch, staring out the window at the same rain that had once cleansed them both. And for the first time, she realized. Yes, she'd made awful mistakes. Yes, she'd broken something sacred. But she'd also walked away, owned it, stayed present through the wreckage. And that too mattered. Sometimes, healing doesn't come with clean lines. Sometimes it comes soaked in rain, regret, and reality. But it comes. Autumn came slowly that year. The leaves changed in a way that reminded Emily of them. Not with sudden drama, but with a quiet inevitability. Fading greens, soft ambers, everything shedding the weight of what once was. Noah had begun leaving little things at her apartment again. A sweater, a toothbrush. One morning, she noticed he'd stocked her fridge with oat milk, the kind only he drank. None of it had been discussed. It just happened, like muscle memory rediscovered. But there was one conversation they'd both avoided. Until the night of the storm. Thunder outside. Flickering lights. The kind of night where old fears crawl out of silence. Emily stood at the window, arms crossed. "Noah," she said, "are we together again?" He didn't answer right away. Just kept tracing the rim of his tea mug with his finger. Then, "I don't know if we're back together." Her stomach dipped. He looked up. "But I know I'm not going anywhere." That night, they didn't make love. They held each other, and it felt more intimate than anything before. Not out of lust, but out of choice. Two souls, broken in different ways. Still reaching. Still believing they could be more than the sum of their sins. 6 months later, Emily would walk beside Noah at his sister's wedding. She'd meet new people, laugh, dance, feel almost normal. And at one point, while everyone else was caught in the blur of celebration, Noah would take her hand and whisper, "You know what's wild?" "What?" "I don't think I'd ever go back to who we were, even before everything." She raised an eyebrow. "Because this version of us," he said, squeezing her hand, "knows how to bleed and still choose each other." Tears blurred her mascara. They didn't speak after that. They just danced. Because sometimes, redemption isn't about being perfect again. It's about being real again. Seen, flawed, forgiven, and loved anyway. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and click one of the videos now on your screen for more raw, untold stories just like this. You're not alone in the mess. We tell the truth, together.